For decades, climate change was presented as a slow, predictable climb. We built a false security, believing our infrastructure was ready. In reality, the climate moves in aggressive, nonlinear jumps. Sudden spikes shatter records, rendering our safety nets irrelevant in hours. Historically, we build defenses only after catastrophe. It took the 1953 storm surge and 300 deaths to finally trigger investments protecting the English coast. That pattern of reactive defense left us exposed on July 19, 2022. The UK hit 40 degrees Celsius, a threshold meteorologists never expected to witness in their careers. A 40-degree spike places a physical stress on our civilization that our baseline tools were never designed to handle. It forces a systemic breakdown of the very things that keep us safe. When air temperatures hit 40, railway tracks absorb enough heat to reach 62 degrees. The steel physically buckles, making the tracks completely unusable and dangerous. This mechanical failure triggers a chain of events. Overhead power lines melt and trains lose power. Passengers end up trapped in unventilated steel carriages for hours, miles from help or hydration. While the rails buckled, the landscape ignited. Weeks of dry weather allowed grass fires to advance at a fast, walking pace, encircling major cities and crossing the thin line between rural fields and suburban backyards. The emergency was so widespread that London ran out of fire engines for the first time since the Blitz. The volume of simultaneous fires simply exhausted every available resource in the capital. This physical crisis met a bureaucratic one. Firefighters found themselves without water because privatized utility companies have no legal obligation to provide emergency reserves for firefighting. The system sat idle while homes burned. This combination of buckled steel and paralyzed institutions turns a weather event into a public safety crisis. It reveals that our most essential services are surprisingly rigid. These failures aren't limited to the outdoors. Even inside our most advanced buildings, like London St. Thomas's Hospital, the heat penetrates the digital infrastructure we rely on for modern medicine. The specialized condensers designed to keep the hospital's IT servers cool completely failed under the intense, extreme external heat. Server rooms reached 50 degrees Celsius, far beyond the operating limits of the hardware. As the systems crashed, decades of digital progress vanished. Doctors were left without patient records or medication schedules, forced to run a trauma center using only pens, paper, and the memories of their patients. Our total reliance on digital systems has created a new, invisible vulnerability. A cooling failure in a server room translates into a life-threatening medical crisis on the wards. The paralysis we saw in hospitals and fire stations is mirrored in our food supply. Senior executives representing half of the UK's grocery market have been meeting in secret because they know how close our supply chains are to a total breakdown. They fear a twin shock, a scenario where a geopolitical conflict blocks exports from one region, while a severe drought simultaneously cripples production in a major agricultural hub like the American Midwest. When you add a localized climate event, like a drought that lowers water levels in the Panama Canal, global shipping hits a physical bottleneck. The movement of food simply stops. While national intelligence agencies are quietly flagging these risks, government departments often pass the responsibility from one ministry to another. This lack of clear ownership leaves our food security in a dangerous state of limbo. A climate shock in one corner of the globe acts as a lead domino. It creates a cascade that threatens the baseline survival of even the most developed nations. The bureaucratic buck passing and institutional paralysis we've seen are fueled by a disconnect in communication. To fix these rigid systems, we must change the language we use to describe the threat. For many, terms like net zero or greenhouse gases have become abstract or politically charged. They don't convey why a hospital server room is failing or why fire hydrants are dry. We need to focus on kitchen table topics, the things that actually dictate a family's safety. We should be talking about uninsurable homes, rising food bills, and the health of our children. Some local councils saved dozens of homes during the 2022 heat wave simply by cutting fire breaks in the brush before the fires could start. Extreme heat is a lethal threat to systems that refuse to change. However, it becomes a manageable reality if we upgrade our train tracks, our server rooms, and our emergency protocols. Climate readiness serves a human purpose. It prevents unnecessary deaths and keeps the people and places we love safe, right here and right now.